There's another question about the Last Supper. The viewer referenced the Gospel of St. John, chapter 13, where our Lord is washing the feet of the apostles. And one viewer asked why they said, why would the apostles have no part with our Lord unless he washed their feet at the Last Supper? And they were referencing, I think it was verse 8. It says, Peter saith to him, Thou shalt never wash my feet. And Jesus answered him, If I wash thee not, thou shalt have no part with me. Mm-hmm. Explain that.
Well, as you say, it refers specifically, uniquely to Peter, because Peter uniquely denied our Lord the right, or to wash his feet. He refused it. And when Peter refused to allow our Lord to wash his feet, Peter was brashly and rashly, in a sense, paying a certain homage to our Lord, saying, I am unworthy. I mean, remember when Peter first hauled that enormous catch of fish into his boat. His nets were breaking, his boats were sinking, and he went in the midst of all of this chaos to our Lord's feet there in the boat, and knelt down and said, Depart from me, O Lord, for I am a sinful man, right? He feared that he was about to lose everything because of the unexpected and totally, extraordinary prosperity that he had suddenly. So prosperous was he that the fish were sinking his boats, tearing his nets. So his first reaction was, Depart from me, because I'm a sinful man. Well, this was kind of marked Peter, the kind of reaction he had. And here, our Lord approaches him at the Last Supper to wash his feet. But Peter's reaction is, no, you'll never wash my feet. So I'm not worthy of it. But that was the whole point, isn't it? That's why Peter needed to be washed, because of his unworthiness. That was the whole point. He missed the whole point again. Peter had a tendency to miss the whole point. And and our Lord simply told him, well, Peter, if I do not wash you, then you will have no part with me. And notice that our Lord didn't say, Peter, if I don't wash your feet, then you'll have no part with me. It was, Peter, if I don't wash you, right? If I don't wash you, you'll have no part with me. So Peter needed to be cleaned, and he needed to be cleansed by our Lord. And this washing of the feet of the apostles was symbolic. It was a very important symbol, though. The washing of the feet did not take place at the Passover meal. That's not part of any Passover meal. Why would our Lord introduce that? Where do we read about the washing of feet? The wedding feast of Cana, right? The water pots, right? The wedding feast of Cana. And so we realize that the guests to a wedding feast would have, just as but if you had a guest come to your house, you might say, well, you've traveled a long way, you must be tired. Would you want to go freshen up or something? Just tell them, splashing water in your face or whatever, as a courtesy to them. And so the wedding guests would be given this courtesy. But we know what happened there. At the water was drawn from those pots, of those stone pots, and taken to the steward, who tasted and found that it had become fine wine. And that was the beginning of our Lord's miracles. The gospel tells it was at Epiphany, right? He manifested his glory there, and his disciples believed in him. They saw that miracle. But we realize also it was the turning point in our Lord's life between his private life and his public life. And it was what set him on the road to Calvary. And it was at the request of Mary, the Mother, Blessed Mother. So our Lord suddenly at the Last Supper brings that element in of washing the feet. At the time when he's going to turn the wine now into his blood, and sort of complete the miracle of Cana by completing the transformation of wash water into wine at Cana, and then wine into blood at the Last Supper. But he also brings the element of washing the feet, as though it takes on a character of kind of a marriage feast. for our Lord, because he's going to go out from that Last Supper and claim his bride, the church. The church will be born of him that night, as it were, when his side is pierced on the cross, as St. Augustine says. So that's our Lord taking his bride. So there's a reason why our Lord uses that opportunity to perform this particular service. He tied a towel around his waist, took a ewer and a basin, and went from apostle to apostle, washing each apostle's feet. And you can imagine the astonishment with the apostles. But none of them had the nerve to say no until he got to Peter, of course. But even then, our Lord overcame Peter's refusal very quickly and easily. And you saw how rapidly and thoroughly. And our Lord said, Peter, if I don't wash you, you have no part with me. And Peter immediately changed his tune. Well, Lord, in that case, not only my feet, but my hands and my head too. And that's when it also kind of brings back what our Lord has said earlier, when he said, a man needs not to wash, but, if he washed his feet, then he washes his hands and his head, and he's clean. But our Lord said, and you are clean, he said to his apostles, but not all. But not all. And our Lord knew, according to the gospel, our Lord knew that there was one who would betray him. And that was this very specific reference that our Lord noted. All of them, not all of them were clean, because one of them, Judas Iscariot, was going to betray him. So this question of being washed and cleansed by our Lord took on a very serious significance, as Peter discovered very rapidly, and whereupon he was quite willing to submit to our Lord washing his feet.
Mm-hmm. Yes, very good.
There are still those in the world today who might say, well, I would never submit to that. And they won't. They won't let our Lord wash them and cleanse them. No. And they have no part with him. No. It's a symbol of baptism, right? No. Cleansing of baptism.